Good evening and welcome to this Expats Portugal webinar, Portugal Calling webinar, everything you want to know about Portugal's D7 visa, and who better to answer that question than Carolina and Marianne and Diana from EI, from A. Good evening to you, Carolina. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. And you, Carl?
Pretty good. Yes, a lovely day. Another lovely day here on the Silver Coast. One of those 300 days of sunshine that we enjoy in Portugal. And a little bit of breeze. Glad to say we get a bit of breeze on the coast as well, which is very welcome. How was it in the capital today?
Oh, pretty warm, but less warm than 2 days ago. So we breathe a little fresher today. But yeah, everything looking good. And it is August, so we need to keep in mind, we need to have a little relaxed mindset while work, of course. And yeah.
Well, work continues at a pace, I'm sure, in the A offices. However, as you say, it is quieter in the capital, isn't it, at this time of year? Portuguese people tend to be on holiday. Kids are on holiday, of course, as well. And everything's gone a little bit quiet after the papal visit. So you had a busy week last week, didn't you, with the Pope in town? But all sort of a normal kind of August we're looking at right now, by the sound of it.
Yeah, right. By today and the following week, yes, but last week was madness, complete madness. Everything was shut down, and oh my God, so many people in Lisbon, and I believe even outside of Lisbon, but it was a little chaotic. But we are back now to reality, to, I don't know, something normal as per se. But it was enriching and very good for our country, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. So great to see you. A fantastic last time you were presenting here with us, and I'm sure you will be tonight. And you brought two fellow team members along as well. Let's do some introductions, if we may, and find out what you do at the company. Diana, great to meet you. Would you like to share a little bit about what you do at EI, at A?
Hello everyone. Yes, sure. I am new here in EI. I have been working here for almost 3 months, and now I am supporting my colleagues Carolina and Marianne with the D7, learning a lot, and well, also I am from Colombia. I have been living here in Portugal for 3 years. I'm so happy living here. It's a beautiful country, and I hope you will come here in your future and enjoy this beautiful country.
A lovely invitation, and from Colombia. Amazing. Okay, lovely to meet you. Mucho placer. And Marianne's here as well. So we've got 3 of the staff members from EI to help with the topic tonight, the D7 visa. Marianne, how are you? Lovely to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you all. So I work in A for more or less 2.5 years, so a little bit longer. I work with the D7 visa team, but I work with other types of visa as well.
Fantastic.
And I'm from Brazil, and I live in Portugal since 2015. Yeah. But I'm based in Porto, so I'm not in Lisbon.
Okay, Diana, are you in Lisbon or Porto?
I am in Lisbon.
Okay, so we that's great. So we have Lisboa and Porto people here tonight. Marianne, great to meet you as well. And I believe we have a presentation to get the party started, as it were, and to begin a conversation about the D7 visa. I'm sure Marianne and Diana will be supporting Carolina behind the scenes with messages as well. If you want to PM, DM, any of the team from EI, do so. We're here to answer your questions and everything you want to know about Portugal's D7 visa. Before we get started, Carolina, I know Astrid's got the presentation queuing up for you, and as that's happening, let's say hello to a few folks tonight as well. Barak, very pleased to see you back here. Astrid. Oh, my chat's gone now. Let me just, okay. We've got Paul Richards. Guess where he is? And hello, EI ladies. He's tonight, ever the gentleman. Pleased to see you all. And Barak's pleased to see you. Olaf from Texas, still melting over there. Andy and Kristen are in this evening as well. Good to see you both. Eastern Shore of Maryland. JC, I'll call you tonight. for a few days in September and a few weeks in November. Coming to Gaia for those dates in September and November. Hello from Wilderness, says Denise. How are you, Denise? Chile, San Francisco. Susie's over there. Julie's in New York City. Hi from California, from Sherilyn. Allah from Los Angeles, from S, from Seattle, Melanie and Tom. First questions coming from John. We will get round to answering all your questions, including yours, John, a little while after the presentation. Bermuda, here for a bit of a vacation. Jeffrey's joining us tonight. Anna, of course, in Cascais, and Laurie as well. Getting nervous, so anxious to get home to Portugal, in Tacoma, I believe, at the moment. Finn and Jill in Orlando, and Hafiz also in Seattle. So thank you, everybody, for saying hello and good evening to us. Keep those messages coming. Over to you, Carolina, with a wonderful looking presentation. Look at these lovely pictures of Portugal.
Yeah, my lovely colleague Diana prepared us this presentation. So we will be just using it for support and a brief explanation of the D7. I believe everyone is already very well informed, but we have a Portuguese saying. I believe that in all these programs I introduce with a Portuguese saying,
Yes.
Knowledge does not occupy space, something like that. So we will start with like how things go with D7 visa. So this is just our beautiful cover, just our logo, and we work with EI, Assessoria Migratória. So yes, let's get started. Okay, so as of today's main subject of the webinar is the D7, is what we are going to be approaching today. So what is a D7 visa? Is a residency visa, which is based on passive income. And now you ask me, I believe, what is passive income? Passive income is, let's say, like in less words, is a money that you receive without directly working for. So the money is working for you per se. So as for example, rents, pensions, investments, dividends, royalties, and the list is endless, because every country has their little specialties, little tweaks and quirks. So we always make in-person categorization so when we sit down with the client, we really decide if it is fitted or not, but it's a pretty extensive list of options. Yeah, please, Astrid. Thank you. So this is just the main focus of the D7 application. We need to show, first of all, the passive income, as I mentioned, from one of those sources of the examples that I gave before. So minimum of 1 Portuguese minimum wage through passive income. 1 Portuguese minimum wage is 760 euros. So this is the minimum of the minimums that we need to show that the person receives monthly, quarterly, or I don't know. It's more easy when it's monthly, but if it is some other type of periodicity, we can always argue, of course. Second is savings and investments. We need to show that as well, because one of the biggest fears from the Portuguese government is that an applicant will later depend on them. So we need to show from the get-go that this person applying will never be supported by the Portuguese government. And with this needs to show their lifelong savings, their investments, their pension funds, the whole collective of their money, let's say like that. We usually recommend the minimum amount of 50,000, the equivalent of euros, in that second category. After that, we pass to the Portuguese documents, which are the NIF is the first step to do in Portugal, because when you do that, you skip already a lot of obstacles. First NIF, second Portuguese bank account. And then later when you apply, you will need to have in the Portuguese bank account at least 18,000 euros and 240 euros, because it's a calculation that we make, which is the Portuguese minimum wage times 24, which is the 24 months of the residence permit that the person is applying. And lastly, the person needs to show an accommodation in Portugal. Accommodation in Portugal, we have more options. So I will explain them right just in a second, just so I will detail them more slowly. But this is the whole collective of big requirements of the D7. So now I will go explaining the accommodation. Please, Astrid, thank you. So we have 4 options for the accommodation in Portugal. For the D7, it's mandatory to show at least 1 year. So either a 12-month rental agreement, which the landlord has the obligation to rent within the tax office, the Portuguese tax office, which is called Finanças. Second, the purchase and sale agreement, or third, the promissory purchase and sale agreement, one or the other. And lastly, a term of responsibility, which is when a friend or an acquaintance signs a form saying that they take responsibility from receiving you in their Portuguese home. So it's also the validity of 1 year. So all of these 4 options is not, it's one or the other or the other or the other. It's not cumulative, it's 1 for 1. Okay, we also decided to insert a few documents that are mandatory to add in, that usually raise some questions. So we already went ahead and put them here. Bank statements, we need to show at least 3 months prior to the application. If you can show earlier. For some people, it's justifiable. For others, for a common process, 3 months is enough. A criminal record with apostille. An apostille is an international authentication of a document. Third, tax return. Fourth, travel insurance. Our, I believe, is Nuno here?
I believe so.
Dear Nuno,
Yes,
this one is with you, but we need a travel insurance for the visa application. The minimums, Nuno already has the proper insurances, but I can mention them. It's at least 30,000 coverage with medical emergency and repatriation for legally minimum of 4 months, but depending on the consulate, it can change the duration. So it's not like 4 months everywhere. No, I wish, but it isn't. Then notarized copy of your passport. And lastly, proof of address of the origin country. So where the person is applying. So they need to show where they live. This can be like an energy bill or internet bill, something like with the full name of the person and their address. We also prepared here this beautiful graphic where it says, where we wanted to show people what our assistance consists of. So a little bit prior to the graphics, we have a consultation, so we can sit down with the person and assess their personal. We do a rundown of the whole, pretty much the whole situation through passive income, or what sometimes a person is not directly ready for a D7 and they need to make a little strategic moves between the accounts or whatever, and we prepare that. And then we tell them which documents do they need, they gather them, then they send it to us, we review them, we give the client, the applicant, we give them tips, and we explain how the application process goes from there, of course. Then the person goes to the appointment. They wait between 2 and 3 months because legally the amount that is explicit on the law is 60 days, but it is 60 business days. So in reality, it varies from 2 up to 3 months. And then the person is contacted and their visa is approved. Yay, we are ready for the next step of the migration process, which is we need to look carefully at the visa and see the CEF appointment, which is automatically assigned to the person in the visa itself. It comes printed there in a link format. And we check it, we see where the person is going to their CEF appointment, and that first half of the process is done. Okay, now we move on to the second part, the CEF appointment itself, which is assigned on the visa. We then go to the CEF appointment. We have that second half of that assistance, which is done by one of our lawyers that goes with the person in person to the appointment. So they do all the boring work, like the bureaucracies, the handling of the clerk. The person just needs to literally sit down, smile for the picture, and pay, and that's it. Our lawyer handles the rest. And yeah, when the CEF then is going to be analyzing the residence permit application of the person, usually this amount is between a month up to 3 months, and the person receives their residence permit in their Portuguese address via mail. That residence permit is valid for 2 years, renewable for 3 more years. And the person needs to fulfill this rule that is up on the screen, which is they cannot be outside of Portugal for more than 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether to be able to be eligible for renewal. So it's important that the person, if he's a person that travels a lot, to keep track of their travels, to save their flight tickets. We recommend it. For a common citizen is not necessary, but for a very well-traveled person, we highly suggest it. And then after those 2 years plus 3 years pass, 5 years have passed in total. Now is the person eligible for citizenship? In this route, we have 3 options, which we suggest that the applicant takes both, like either the temporary residence or the permanent residency, and the citizenship route, both ways. So if the person chooses to acquire citizenship, Portuguese citizenship, they are never out of a permit in the meantime. So yeah, this is the migration process of a D7 visa in a nutshell. Of course, every person, every client, every candidate is a different person and varies from country to country, but this is a summary of what the law says. Now, I believe I'm finished with this whole presentation, and I'm receptive for the questions. And I believe everyone has a place to speak, of course. And I want to invite everyone to send us an email if they see fit and they want to work with us. It would be a pleasure from us. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Carolina. Excellent stuff. Simple presentation. There you go. It's as easy as that, everybody. We do have a few, especially when you work with the EI, and of course, if you're a premium member of Expats Portugal, you'll also get a discount on or off EI's service. Never sure if it's a discount on or off. Discount off, isn't it? EI's professional fees there. So great job, Carolina. I see Diana. Let me get this right. I'm thinking Portuguese pronunciation would be Diana. Am I wrong? Is it Diana?
It's Diana. It's good.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Marianne as well. Mariana, your fan club is here tonight as well in the chat as well. Some people very happy with the work you're doing for them. So let's get to the first of those questions tonight. And thank you, Diana and Marianne, for approaching the questions in the chat as well. And thank you, Nuno, for being here. As Carolina said, Nuno, the perfect partner to work with if you're looking for the travel insurance as well. Nuno has tailored solutions for that as well. Now, I think the first person to ask a question was John this evening, and strangely enough, I can't find his question now, but I will come back to it. I'll make sure. Oh yeah, John McKay. I have been trying to book an appointment online for an initial D7 meeting through the VFS website in the US. It's been over 3 weeks now, and I either get you're blocked or try again in 2 hours or restart and clear your cache. Is anyone else experiencing this? I'm in contact with VFS support and they seem to think it's just me. Now, working with the professionals gives you a little bit of advantage over this sort of thing, doesn't it? But I'm sure John is not alone in having this problem. It is difficult, is it not, getting through to VFS, Carolina?
Yeah, and especially I've felt this since last week with VFS Global in the US.
Oh.
It has been, I've tried like all browsers and on my phone, on my computer, because sometimes if I change it, some other slot appears. But lately it has not been possible from the last week. I've not felt it 3 years ago. So because I had clients that booked it and I booked it myself in the last two weeks ago. So, but presently I'm feeling the same thing. Okay. But I believe that they release the next slot, some like few gave ups when people decide to cancel their appointments from the next month. So at the end of August, I expect a few slots for September, and same thing moving forward. But they release the slots far ahead, but they don't release it like all of them at once. So they don't release all calendar year in January. No, they in January release for February. So in like a couple months ahead.
Okay, thank you for that insight there, Carolina. So it's not just you, John, and there is a general difficulty here. So bear with and keep going. It sounds like you're doing all you can, and the suggestion perhaps there, Carolina, is just to keep going. Good luck with that, John. We have from Virginia, SLP is here tonight. Terry B from Cape Cod, Massachusetts as well. And Caroline in Tel Aviv this evening, as well as Sherry in Red Rock County in Utah. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And Jose as well. Jose Cruz is with us tonight. A lot of people who've already got D7 visas, interestingly, tuned in tonight, and I'm sure they can speak from their own experience as well and be helpful as part of the audience this evening. Next question from Melanie and Tom. Do we need to show we are currently receiving the passive income before we apply for the D7, or can we show we expect to receive the income by a specific date before moving to Portugal? I guess this is maybe a business coming into play, or some sort of other form of income here, passive income, or otherwise have access to the income. For example, we'll begin collecting social security benefits and investment savings upon retirement. So can that be done? Can you point towards income coming in the future, Carolina, in the application?
We have done it. It's possible, but it needs to be very well written and argued, because technically it's not a simple process. It's not a by the book D7 visa. The D7 visa should already be collecting it. But if the person is not, it needs to be a very well thought out thing where when you apply, because we always recommend that you show that at any given point, even if you want to, you can access it. So you need to be prepared for that, and for follow-up questions from the consulate, and I don't know how to say this properly. At this time, my brain is already tangling with the English and the Portuguese.
You're doing a great job.
And I was saying that it needs to be very well explained and properly, something very transparent and clear, and probably as well attaching an additional letter from the accountant or financial advisor vouching for it.
Okay, I get that. So really, technically it is possible, but it has to be very well explained to the government official to see that this is coming into place. Not ideal, but it is possible there, Melanie and Tom. Somebody asked about a maximum. This is an interesting question that I don't think we've had before. Is there a maximum on passive income? I suppose effectively, can somebody be too wealthy to come to Portugal?
No, there's no maximum. No,
I think Marianne liked the sound of that question. Have you had people ask you that before, Marianne?
No, never.
Okay, you're just amused by the question. Paul was in there. I don't know if any maximum, just a minimum, which has been explained, of course, by Carolina. Thank you, Marianne, as well, for chipping in there. Social security. This was a question that was being asked as well. Does that count? Of course, it is pension income, isn't it?
Yeah, passive income includes pensions. It's a
Okay.
money you are not working today to get it, so it fits.
There you go. Okay. And Marianne, it was Laurie in Tacoma who was so grateful to you for your care, support, and patience. Any other nice positive feedback for EI? Glad to receive that in the chat as well. SLP is asking, are the passive income and bank account requirements per person or per couple, Carolina, from your presentation there?
So legally is per applicant, per D7 applicant, but every case is a case, and sometimes there's the main applicant and an accompanying visa, so just the D7 one needs to show it. We have, of course, a few advice for if these situations happen, but technically per applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. Deanna was in answering that in the comments there. Yeah, it depends. If both are applying for D7, yes, as you said, Carolina. If not, one could apply as principal applicant and the husband or wife as an accompanying visa as an alternative there. Hafiz, we answered your question about social security income. SLP, the 3-month bank records required. Is it for the bank in Portugal, Carolina, or in the country you are moving from?
All the bank accounts need to show a 3-month prior bank statement. But for example, if the Portuguese bank account does not have 3 months of existence, you cannot show 3 months prior, even if it is like 0. If it does not exist, you cannot show. So it's okay, but preferably everything.
All right, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And this is the classic question, isn't it, about the 6 and the 8 months? Jeffrey asking this, is the 6/8 month requirement part of the 2-year residency or the 3-year part of the visa, or both?
Sorry, I didn't understand the
Carolina,
question.
this is about being out of the country, whether it be 6 months in one go or 8 months in total. Is that the 2-year part of the visa, or is it for the 3-year part, or is it for both?
Both.
Okay.
The law says per validity of permits. So when the validity is 2 years, 2 years. When the validity is 3 years, 3 years.
Yeah, and that's one of the more recent changes, isn't it? Along with, and I was thinking about this, and when I first was talking to Gilda 2 or 3 years ago, in those days where you could have an Airbnb invoice as your residency as well, things have changed, and this is one of them, isn't it? The 6 and 8 months requirement. So it's in both the 2 and 3 year sections. Thea was asking about the maximum passive income. It's not a maximum, it is the minimum, €760 monthly there. Paul, incidentally, was unaware you had to take a language test for a 10-year permanent residency, not citizenship. Can you say more about that then, Carolina?
Yeah, you need to take a Portuguese test for permanent residency and for citizenship. So unless I think the Brazilian is exempted, so Portuguese speaking countries are exempted. Marianne can confirm.
Yes.
Yeah, but I believe it's not, if Paul is writing me in English, I believe it's not his situation. So yeah, just the temporary, the other option, which is I explained, you have 3 options: the 5-year, the 10-year, and the citizenship. If he chooses the first one, he does not need to make any Portuguese test.
That might come as a relief. So can he keep renewing on a 5-year basis and thereby avoid the language test?
Yeah.
There you go, Paul. Or marry someone Portuguese is the other option, which is quite a big strategy, I think, and probably not suitable given that you're already married, Paul, from what I know about you. Okay. Hello, I have older and younger kids. What documents are needed for kids over 16? Is a background check needed for this age? I guess they're for adults, basically, aren't they? What documents have to be apostilled for the children? So, yeah, maybe you could clarify that, Carolina. So is it 16 or 18? And what sort of documents and apostillization? I don't know if that's the right word. I'm sure you
I don't know if
that.
that's an actual verb, but let's go with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, after 16-year-olds already need that. And the apostilled documents are the, let's say, the government issued ones. So birth certificate is necessary to be apostilled to show the relationship with the parents, because it's the whole foundation of this kid's visa is the binding between them and the parents. So we need to show a proper document on that.
Okay, thank you, S. I hope that helps. If it doesn't, do seek further clarification in the chat. And of course, when we finish the recording here tonight, you get a chance to ask more personal questions if you wish, that won't be broadcast over the internet and on YouTube. Brian, pleased to see you, Marianne, as well. John is already a client of VI. Well done, John. And they helped you with the NIF and bank account. That's brilliant. And they're going to help me through the rest of the D7 process. Jeffrey, we have a busy travel schedule for 2024 and contemplate relocating to Portugal during December 24 through to February 25. When, if that's the timeline, when should Jeffrey begin the D7 visa process, Carolina?
I would suggest June 2024, like 6 months,
6 months out
prior. Yeah.
Okay, there you go, Jeffrey. Rehan, good to see you here. Can dividend income be from a company that we own ourselves? How's that for passive income?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Brilliant. And as we are selling our house in order to, and then your message cuts off there. So to come to Portugal and moving into our flat, will we need to use that address for proof of a UK address? I'm not quite sure. Do you understand what that means there, Carolina?
I believe so. When you are applying, you always need to show the address of the place where you are applying. So in this case, this person is from the UK. They need to show the UK address.
Okay.
Even if they sell the house, but they need to put down an address, an official address.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Rehan. If you need any further clarification, you know what to do. Can you have non-passive income from companies outside of Portugal, says SLP. Can you work online occasionally, not full-time, while in Portugal for companies outside of Portugal? And that's one of the misleading or confusing things about the D7. Whilst it's generally referred to as passive income, you can still work, right, Carolina?
So to apply for a D7 visa, you need to show passive income. It's indifferent if you also have active income or not, but for the application itself, show passive income. Later, if when you get your whole migration process is done and you have a residence permit in your hand, you are allowed to work in Portugal. It's indifferent. The Portuguese permit does not forbid you from working whatsoever.
Okay, there you go. SLP. Carolina, a direct question for you from Barak. Am I correct in saying that I can move to Portugal on a 90 tourist visit? When my appointment for the embassy in DC comes up, I can fly to DC from Portugal. Okay, so you're here on the 90-day tourist visa, and flying back to DC, go to the meeting and fly back to Portugal. At that point, I mail my passport to the embassy in DC and wait for them to mail it back to me in Portugal, and then go to my SEF appointment. Would that plan work?
First, hey, Barak. I know I still need to respond to your email, but today was a very busy day, but I will do it. I'll get to it. But the first half of Barak's comment, yes, so you can come to Portugal and then go back to apply and then come back again. But it's when I have to make a big disclaimer. You cannot send your passport across the ocean to the embassy. No, you need to be in US soil to send your passport to the embassy. Okay, if they check the pages. If you have a coming in stamp to Portugal and you don't have a come out stamp, they will know what you're doing and they hate it.
Why is that?
I believe it's because it's very unsafe to mail your passport and to I don't know, be in another continent without it. It's very unsafe. I don't know.
It just could cause a whole load of other problems from their point. Okay.
Yeah,
and you also are obligated restricted to enter Portugal during the validity of your visa. Okay, so if you mail your passport, you will not enter Portugal during the validity of your visa. So it's a problem.
Okay, Marianne, thanks for that extra information. There you go, Barak. A finely honed plan, but we found a problem with it, I'm afraid. Come back at us if you need more information on modifying that approach. Can we show, asks Hafiz, a rental income from a property we own in Portugal to show as income to qualify? That's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a rental income. That's passive income.
Yeah, so it's not about where it is or what it is. It's about the amount, really, isn't it? And the regularity and proof that it is passive income. So there you go, Hafiz. Barak, we're also having issues. Okay, so it's the same problem I think that John was having. Also having issues getting an appointment in DC. Have been trying several times a day for 2 days. So there is just a bit of a problem and a backlog, right? Is it an August thing?
Yeah, I don't know if it is an August thing, or I believe they filled out all the slots until, I believe, November.
Okay.
So they are working on opening the December agenda. That's what I think it's happening.
Yes.
But I cannot like vouch for it because I don't work at VFS, but
Yeah.
I believe they will be opening until the end of the month, but I cannot promise it, of course.
Right. And the VFS and the embassies, of course, are effectively Portuguese, aren't they? And so some people will be coming on holiday back to Portugal. So that may affect things, of course, bear that in mind. Laurie, a bank with a Portuguese bank account minimum question. Do both my husband and I need the minimum amount of 18,240 euros, or can one of us have half the amount in the bank? Do we need 36,000 effectively, or can we have 27,000? Thanks for doing the math there, Laurie.
So technically, per applicant, you need the 18K. So, but I don't know what's Laurie's situation, if she's doing a D7 and an accompanying visa, or they are both doing D7s. I don't know. We recommend per applicant.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Terry B. This is somewhat outside possibly the scope of the conversation. It's interesting to know, though, Terry. I plan on purchasing and building a home in the Azores. A good time to mention Casa Portuguesa, of course. You can help people with finding homes, with rentals and buying homes. Do you help people buy land? And if so, can you help people buy land in the Azores?
We can help people buy land. Yes. Actually, in Madeira, I believe, I'm certain, in Azores, do you know, Marianne?
We might have to get back to you.
Not sure.
I'm
Not
not
sure.
sure.
Madeira, yes.
Yeah, in
all right.
Madeira, we are certain. In
Yeah.
Azores, I need to check with Gilda.
Okay.
But we help in the whole continent. We help finding places to buy, to purchase.
Yep.
And of course the islands. But I will check with Gilda and I will let you know.
Well, and when you do, you could perhaps suggest that me, Astrid, or Jerry will be very happy to fly to the Azores to look for land for people, okay? If it's expenses paid. Very happy to do that. Phyllis, also a big fan of you, Marianne. Had a great call last month with Marianne, getting our items together to begin working with EI next year. Hi, Phyllis. Thank you for that. So is it possible to increase my passive income, asked Brian in the UK, by making a contract to rent out equipment, or possibly creating a business that pays me a wage or something similar? I mean, what you need to demonstrate, I think, Carolina, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is you need a business plan, don't you? And proof that this is a business that is paying you passive income. The details aren't necessarily that important, but you need to show that the money is coming in.
Yeah, but in this person's question specifically, for example, a wage is active income, is not passive.
Right.
So it would need either the person founding their own company and collecting the dividends.
Yes.
So not a wage, a salary, nothing like that. That would immediately put them outside of the scope of the D7 and probably on the D8 if they meet the minimums, but we are not here to speak about the D8. D7 wise, it would change the nature of the income.
It's the emphasis on the passive income, isn't it? Not the active income there, Brian. But keep those ideas coming, Brian, and we'll do everything we can to help you, as I know Marianne is as well. Do I need a utility bill statement for the home in the US and in Portugal, or which one do I need? Asked Laurie.
Utility bills from the US, if the person is applying there. In
Right.
Portugal is the 4 ways of showing the accommodation. So rental agreement, proof of purchase, or term of responsibility. You don't need to show an utility in Portugal.
Okay, excellent. Andy, I'm really rattling through these because the messages are coming in with the questions, Carolina. And of course, as I said, there'll be a chance to ask more questions when we finish the recording in about 5 or 10 minutes time. Question from Andy then, is there an easier region to get a D7, i.e. Lisboa? Is it easier than Porto, or is the Algarve harder than Porto? That's not going to make a difference, is it? It's about where you're applying, not where you're thinking of living in Portugal.
Yeah, Carl, that's it. Carl, you need to come work with us. You are already ready.
Look, I'll go to the Azores for you, but I'm not sure I can cope with the pressure of working with the EI and the amazing work you do. And 25 women in one office, is that right as well?
No, we are split between Lisbon and Porto. So it's
okay.
not all of them together. That is just on like the offices, parties, and the dinners and the celebrations.
Okay.
The whole year we are pretty much separated.
A lot of feminine energy in the company, and that's all for the good, I say. So there you go. Terry B is planning on purchasing land and building the home in the Azores. Does just the land and any dwellings, if they're not livable, do they count for your D7? So that's where that question was going. If you've bought land to build on, it's not really an address, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not a proof of accommodation. You cannot stay in your land.
Right. Yep. There you go. Sorry about that, Terry. Continuing with the earlier question about the paperwork required for children, I've heard that my 16-year-old would need a background check because of her age. Can you please advise if this is correct?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. Good evening, Ray. I'm an EU citizen, so I don't think I need a D7 visa, just residency. What about my non-EU spouse? What do they need to do? So that takes us out of the realms of the D7. And I think Ray's right there, Carolina. As an EU citizen, you just rock up. But what about the non-EU spouse?
They can marry, if they are married, they can do Article 15 of family reunification, family regrouping, I believe it's the literal translation. But if they don't want to wait for it because they need to wait for the slots to open, released by the Portuguese government, they can do a D7 visa. Right. If they are eligible, of course.
Yeah. All right. So eligibility notwithstanding, they can do the D7, but they can also reunify with you, Ray, as an EU citizen. Thank you. Connie, what is the process difference between the apostille of documents and legalization / authentication? US is apostille, Canada is legalization, authentication. These words, if you're not used to them, could you say a little bit more about them, Caroline, and how it varies in Canada and the US, please?
So the Hague apostille is a treaty that 180 countries in the world, I believe it's that number, made, that they agreed for a seal across all countries that is valid. Okay. So the US is one of the adherent countries. Portugal is one as well. So a US document is apostilled, is valid in Portugal. A Portuguese document apostilled is valid in the US and in all the other countries that adhered to that convention. But there are a few countries that did not agree and they did not sign it, so they are not a part of it. In those countries, there's no apostille, does not exist on that country. So in that situation, you need to legalize the document some other way. Usually it's in the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, and they have a whole other way instead of an apostille. So yeah, Canada is one of them. I believe I read on the other day that Canada is going to be having apostille from next year because they late agreed to the convention. I believed I was doing research a couple weeks ago when I found that out. But
Okay.
for example, Angola does not have apostille, India does not have it. So still a few countries don't have it, and it's Bangladesh as well. So they need to go through the other route of legalization.
There you go. Thank you for explaining that. That's brilliant. Thank you. That's for you, Connie. Mo Moreno, can you work for a US company remotely but qualify for the D7 on passive income? Again, we come back to, if you're working for a US company remotely, that's active income, not passive income, isn't it? Rather than the D8.
Yeah, but sometimes a person has both passive and active income.
Okay.
So you just don't show the active and just show the passive, and you might qualify for a D7 if, for example, this person holds a company themselves and receives dividends, for example, or some other way. It's possible.
Okay, good to know. Thank you very much. While we've been on air, possibly, Barak has just got an appointment for the 16th.
Really?
Possibly here. Hasn't got the paperwork ready to do it, however. They're not transferable, are they? But it means that one might come available. So if you get in touch with Barak by direct message, you can wait for him to cancel it and say he can't be there, and then go online and see if it comes up immediately for you to take it as a late booking, maybe. I think that's as much help as we can be. Well done, Barak, on that. Sorry you can't make that appointment, though, with it being
it seems 6 days.
Yeah, maybe it's worth having a call, seeing if that paperwork can be put in order. I don't know. Sarah, are you saying that the minimum passive income amount is actually 760 euros a month or a 9,120 euros a year per person? That is much higher than I'd previously heard.
So the Portuguese minimum wage, as I believe all minimum wages worldwide, they change due to a new law coming in force.
Yeah.
This 760 euros were established in January 1st, 2023 from the government. So it is in force since that date. And of course, last year was less 50 euros. And I don't know how it will be the next year, but we are always dependent on what the government establishes as the minimum wage. So probably when this person heard was prior, I believe so, because it's not a stagnant amount, is interchangeable according to the Portuguese government.
And I'm sure people who are on the minimum wage wouldn't think that it's much higher than it was. So I'm not sure where the information is coming from there, Sarah, but you can always ask, unmute when we finish the recording and get clarification on that. Connie arrived late. Can she be sent the presentation? She's asking. It will be available from 6 o'clock on Sunday on the YouTube channel of Expats Portugal. So you'll be able to watch it again then, Connie. It will be available, as is the whole webinar will be available and published at 6 o'clock Sunday evening if anyone wants to clarify any of the points and review on Sunday. Just to clarify as well here for Mo, if one has passive income and can qualify for the D7, can they keep their remote US-based job?
If they qualify for a D7, and I don't want to say the same thing, but it's if the person qualifies for a D7 and at the same time has a job, a remote job, as long as they don't present it as their source of income and they show the passive income as the basis of their visa, it's fine.
Yeah. So another way of putting it is if you've got active income, that doesn't exclude you as long as you've got the right amount of passive income. I hope we've sorted that out for you there, Mo, if I may call you that. Apostille, the FBI report. I thought you were required to keep the envelope sealed. How do you apostille a document that is in a sealed envelope? Good question, Susie.
So in the US, a couple VFSs allow this option of the sealed envelope. But I'm speaking worldwide. So when I said FBI criminal record apostilled, I meant in the whole other countries that the world has. The US is an exception that allows this option of the sealed envelope. I don't know where this person is applying, but if it is San Francisco or Washington, D.C. is an option for them to keep the envelope sealed and no need for apostille it. Nevertheless, if the person gets curious and just opens the envelope, it has happened to me
I'm
before.
sure.
Some clients told me I couldn't help it. I was so curious. I have a past. I don't know if something was left in there. In that case, you either get a new one and keep it closed or go apostille it.
Okay. Oh, okay. If you do open it, you can then apostille it. Okay. These are the same people who press red buttons when they pass them, aren't they? Okay. Right. I think we should conclude at that point, and I will come back to any questions that haven't been asked yet. Suffice to say here, thank you very much for all the excellent information, says John. Had my initial meeting with the EI back in April. My plan is to get a VFS appointment in January. Once that is complete, what is the timeline for the next steps? We'll address that when we've concluded the recording. I just want to give Carolina and Diana and Marianne a chance to add anything that we feel we may have missed up to this point, and then we'll come back to all the unanswered questions in the hands up open mic part of the evening. Carolina, anything else you want to say?
I believe we touched pretty much every point with the presentation and with the follow-up questions that you read. So I believe every little detail was mentioned and a little discussed. So I'm confident that we enlightened the audience.
Judging by the feedback that's coming in, what about you, Marianne? Anything you'd like to add? Oh, we need you to unmute as well, please.
I also believe that we have mentioned all the important details about the D7, but if someone has a more specific question, then can ask us later.
Wonderful. Thanks, Marianne. How about you, Diana?
Same, but anyway, each one is a different case, and we can value each situation if you need it. But all the general information was here.
Great job. Thank you, Diana, Marianne, and Carolina. Of course, remember, as an Expats Portugal Premium member, you'll get a discount on EI's services. Find them along with all the other pros, some of whom will be with us for the Dream Team session at 9 in the Expats Portugal Business Directory. Let's leave it there for now. Great job. Thank you very much indeed.